Hi, I'm Andrew, and it's time to sit down and catch up on my game development journey on my boat game. Yeah, boat game updates. Boat game updates! I haven't got the name for this game yet, still. After some deep gameplay exploration, I think I finally got something settled down that I like. Kinda. It wasn't easy to figure out what type of game I wanted to make to begin with, and given the time and limited experience that I have, I really need to be careful of what I should consider making, kind of in a way people think like, you know, making the best bang for your buck. Is that a saying? You know what I mean. And so even as a small addition of features that I would add into the game can, you know, have an exponential growth in the amount of content that I'll need to make. So I really need to be careful on what I should add and what I shouldn't add. So if you've seen other devlogs, the hook mechanic is basically the star of the show. My aim is to make this hook mechanic as interesting as possible without focusing too much on the logic. I started seeing this hook act more like a harpoon of sort, letting players attach themselves to another object, building, items, anything, and which can create different and interesting interactions with the player. I can also see it as a socket as well, kind of like when you plug something in onto a wall and you're extracting data or you're extracting something or putting something in as well, like Luigi's Mansion in a way, seeing as those things kind of like, you know, the vacuum can like suck in ghosts but also put out things as well. I don't remember that game very well. And so the more I think about this hook, the more I realize that this hook is more of a utility kind of thing. I don't really see it as like a combat weapon, if that makes sense. But using it as utility, it kind of lets players to interact with the world in an interesting way. And so I'm really fond of that idea, and I'd like to explore further with this. That being said, the player must have a way to fight. I've settled for a basic top-down shooter approach where the player just shoots at the direction the player is facing with the mouse, in relation to the mouse. Now, for the gameplay loop, I need to at least have a vague idea of the mechanics in relation to the fantasy of the world, which I'll get onto it in a bit. But what are the mechanics using the hook that can bring the game into a level that I'm happy with? And so I've explored different ways to use the hook. While figuring out these mechanics, I had three things in mind. One is the moment-to-moment gameplay. How can this hook be interesting for the player to use from a moment-to-moment gameplay? Two, in mid-game, how do players basically use this hook to interact with the world in such a way that is meaningful and interesting? Are there trade-offs? And also in the long run, utilizing the hook appropriately, how can they benefit the player from a long run standpoint? Obviously, I don't have all the answers for them in clear yet, but these were the things that are in my mind as I am exploring different mechanics to use for this hook. And so far, here's what I got in the following. So from a combat standpoint, I really like Kirby, and so I kind of wanted to either have this like throwing your hook to someone like a socket and gets you tethered to an enemy, and that way you can basically either turn them into your allies or steal their powers. And I thought that was really cool. So I'd like to make something like that. And also you can also throw your hook into these ponds like fishing basically, and lets you collect fishes, which are like resources you can use later. You can also throw your hook to like this tower or like a building to kind of cleanse the tower. It becomes like a small segment of tower defense game where you basically have to protect this tower while you're tethered to the tower, and there's this swarm of enemies that basically come in and attack you, and you have to survive while protecting the tower for a timer. And if you survive it, you kind of get this like, let's say a star, and if you get 3 stars, it would trigger a boss, and you have to fight the boss in that room, and defeating a boss will let you go to the next level. That's kind of the main gameplay loop idea I've got so far. I know it's super vague, but I need something to move forward. Of course, I've explored even further, and the fishes, you know, can be exchanged at an outpost, and let's say it gives you upgrades. Every time you fish, you collect pawns or stars. The level gets harder, like Risk of Rain, but that is still yet to be determined. I really need to see first if this hook works when interacting with an enemy. So how do I turn these mechanics into a vibrant world and make it feel somehow makes sense despite all of this madness? This is where MDA comes in. I have to turn these mechanics into aesthetics. I've had a few brainstorm sessions with my friends, and we talked a lot about this project, and it has been really helpful. Hey.
Yeah.
So like, I think I finally have an idea for the hook. And basically it's about, hello? Hello? As I was
What?
saying, so like, you know, the hook Now, apart from fishing, you can also steal powers from enemies. And like from the power from the enemies, you can like get it from towers. Hello? So here's what I've got. You play as this kitty pirate sailing your boat in this dream world full of fluffy and pretty clouds. But one day, a nightmare villain decided to corrupt the dream world, and so your job is to clean the nightmare that's been infested. Use your magical harpoon to steal enemies' powers, cleanse corruption, and restore the world. It's quite similar to many simple hero's journey stories, just like Tadpole Tales as well. And if you haven't noticed, I know a thing or two about cleaning rivers and cleaning monsters.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
It's legit just like Tadpole Tales in a way, except it's a top-down shooter with mechanics that are different, and there's a hook and power-ups, so we'll see about that. So now that I kind of know what I want to do with this hook, I need to basically rip the entire project to the bone. What I have for the hook is just a bunch of spaghetti code now, and I think it's better off to just scrap it and start from zero again. I did a bit of a script architecture planning. It's not proper, but it helps. It's really useful for me to kind of see how the scripts should communicate to one to another. I think this is called refactoring. I added basic shoot and changed the movement controls. The controls before was not made for bullet dodging. You have to steer left to right and then decide to move forward or backwards, and it oftentimes led to, like, you know, getting hit and not being able to like dodge the bullets. And now I've changed to, depending on which direction you press, your boat basically goes towards that direction, and facing and turning is done automatically based on your direction. Visually, I think it's still pretty cohesive, which I'm super glad to see, and it feels so much better. I'm still thinking on how the UI for the weapon should look. I think it should be some sort of cannon rotating around the boat. Maybe that would work, given how low pixely this game looks. I added screen shake and some player stat logic where player can get hurt, and I think it looks pretty good. There's also this iframe that I added. Obviously, you're gonna need some iframes in this game. And also, just to mess around, I created this enemy dummy, and it has some death explosions. It's so cool that you can stack VFX on top of one of another, and when they all get played together, it feels like a really nice composition. I don't like the colors yet for it, but that's a whole nother subject. I think the art direction is still missing, and I still need to work on that as well. But that's all I got so far for the game. Please tell me what you think about the game idea and the gameplay loop. Do you like it? What else could a harpoon hook thingy do? Are there any other cool mechanics that you can think of? Please share them in the comment below. I literally say this in every single video, but it's true. Like, everybody's been so involved, and it's really cool to see. So thank you so much for your interest. Now, in my life, I recently celebrated my early birthday, where I spent 2 months of my time designing a murder mystery party with my dear friend Seb. It was an anime-themed murder mystery party, and the story goes Naruto, me, is hosting like this Hokage election dinner party and gets brutally murdered by Eren from Attack on Titan. Nothing makes sense, and there were a bunch of cringy punchlines, but everybody seemed to have a lot of fun, so I call it a huge success. As you know, Megumi's been taking this serum, and he seems to be doing really well. It almost looks like he doesn't have any allergies anymore, which I'm super happy to see. We made a new friend, Alan, and we've been going to play dates once a week. I'm super thankful to Paul, the owner, and Alan for letting Megumi play with them. And yeah, that's all I got for this week. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Yeah, have a great one. Bye. Or not, because you guys asked for another pack opening, so here we go. Alright, as promised from last YouTube video, so I got here about 3 more packs, and we're gonna open them and see if we get any hits. Ooh, this was Sada Vitality, let's go. Alright, Toxic Powder, very nice.
Dang it!
Ooh, to run EX.
Oh, dang it!
Okay. Got 2 hits. Pretty good. Thanks for watching.